From our amazing landscapes where we wanted to be ecologically resilient, we wanted to be biodiverse, we wanted to be rich, to our plates. I'd like to introduce our next guest. If you're on the app, everybody's on the app, so you all would have read her bio, you all would know her if you've been watching television. Those who are following her, please, if you are not, please follow her. Please do. Zola, thanks so much for joining us today, and we look so forward to your contribution to making the Living Planet Conference a success. Please help me welcome Zola Nene.
The food crisis that we're under. Oh, there we are. Now you can hear me, right? Should I say hello again? Hi. And listen to Augustine, please. Please follow me. I was saying, I can see by the blank looks on your faces. Maybe it's because you couldn't hear me, but anyway, I'll just go with this. You're all wondering, what is this chef going to tell me about our food systems? What is this chef going to tell me about our food crisis right now? The reason why I know you're thinking that is because I thought that when WWF asked me to speak. I was like, what am I going to add to this panel? The truth is, I'm not going to be able to spit out stats at you. I'm not going to be able to give you numbers of certain things, what we can do, what the plan is. All I can do is share my passion for food with you, and that's kind of what I'm here to do today. And as I'm in my comfort zone now, behind a stove. So I just want you to know that this is very informal. I'm sort of the interlude to the conference. So if you guys want to interrupt at any point and tell me a story, a food story, if I trigger any memories that you want to share about food, please put your hand up, and I'm happy to stop. So let's make this as informal as possible, and join in the conversation, because that's what food is all about. Right, before I get started, those of you who've watched my show, those of you who've watched me do demonstrations before, delegation is my number one skill. So I say I'm going to cook for you, but one of you is going to cook for you. So if anybody would like to be a volunteer and come up here and help me, now's your chance. Don't all jump. Take it slow. Oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you very much. Yes, please do give her a round of applause. Thank you very much. Chef Lucky over there will help you wash your hands so that you're all ready to go. So we all have a deep-rooted connection with food, and our love for food, and especially my love for food, comes from somewhere in my childhood. I know that my love for food started very, very early on, and I have my maternal grandmother and my mom to thank for that. I remember from as far back as I can even recall, every single event that the family had was centered around food. Whether we were celebrating a wedding, whether we were celebrating a birth of a child, whether we were mourning somebody's passing, and whether we were celebrating just, the start of a new week and we were having Sunday lunch, food was always the center of it all. And my maternal grandparents lived on a farm in Amazimtoti. Hi again. I'm just going to let you stand there for a while. Just look at the people. It's great. They lived on a farm in Amazimtoti, like I said, and my grandmother grew every single thing that she cooked and ate, bar for some meat. So anything that she put in a pot, she had reared herself, had planted herself, had harvested herself, had sorted through herself. So I feel like the connection to nature was something that she really, really understood. And every time I think about the way that she used to cook and the type of behavior that she had when it came to food in the kitchen, it was always grounded in where the food came from. So that's something that has stuck with me now. Yes, I'm now a qualified chef and I do all these wonderful things, and I may not have a farm that I grow my own food from, but that responsibility of knowing where the food came from is something that I always carry with me today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share 2 recipes with you. The first is one that is ingrained in my memory and is very nostalgic for me because it's something that my grandmother made all the time, and it's something that every time I smell it on a stove, I go back to being the 4-year-old, peeking over the table, sneakily, because I wasn't allowed in the kitchen. Actually, why was that? Anyway, peeking over the table and just watching her sort the sugar beans, watching her pick each and every dried mealie kernel to make sure that every single item that went into the pot was as perfect as she could make it. And I think that's the way that she expressed love. So the first thing I'm going to make, I say I, but wonderful lady here, what's your name? Maureen is going to make for you is samp. I know, so much excitement, all of you. Thank you for that feedback. But the reason why I'm making samp, as simple as it seems, it's just one of those things that feels like a hug from inside. Like a hug from within. The taste isn't, revolutionary. Do you know what I mean? It's a starch and a bean, and you cook it really, really slowly. But there's something about it that's really warming and really huggy. And that's what I want to do for you today, is give you a hug from a bowl. So that's why I'm making, Maureen is making samp for you. So Maureen, if you stand there by the stove, let me get you a pot. Thank you very much. Here we go. And it's basically 2 ingredients, okay? So my grandmother is no longer alive. She's never seen me recreate her samp, so she can't tell me I'm doing it wrong. So please, just go with this. This is the way that she would have done it, okay? My 4-year-old memory serves me very, very well. And I remember that it used to be one of those dishes that she'd prep and decide on very, very far in advance. So she'd soak the beans and she'd soak the mealies. Now remember, these are mealies that she'd planted, that she'd harvested, that she dried herself. Same goes for the beans. The way that I remember my mom and my aunt and my grandmother used to sit at the table shelling sugar beans. Do they even come in shells anymore? Have you seen a sugar bean in a shell? Have you? What happened to that? What happened to that? So they used to shell the sugar beans. I mean, now I know you see them and they're already perfect. And I remember my grandmother was always, that's why she wouldn't let me help, because she had to pick out all the stones and the pebbles from all of the stuff that she'd grown and planted. And, a 4-year-old isn't as careful as I don't even want to say how old she was, because I don't know. I don't know how old she was then. But she was old. She was always old to me. So that's why she wouldn't. So what you have to do for the perfect samp and beans is make sure that you soak your beans and your samp overnight. Now, I understand we're all very, very busy people. Luckily, Chef Lucky over here is from the Maslow. He's done all the hard work for you. Also, the samp that you'll be tasting later, filled with my love, but made by his hands. Thank you, Chef. And they have lovingly soaked the mealies, or the mbila and the beans beforehand. So you can see they're pretty dry in their original state. Can you see? I'm pointed to the camera. Can you see? And then once they're soaked, they're lovely and plump. This obviously rehydrates everything, so you can pop that into the pot. Not all of them, because it's a small pot, and also no one's going to eat this because, samp takes a long time. And then the sugar beans as well, I advise that you soak these too. Now, there's an ongoing debate between me and my mom. And actually, you can settle it for me, because this is streaming, and I hope she's watching, so please be on my side. She says that proper samp has to have equal quantities of samp and beans. You! Mom, wherever you are in the stratosphere, these people have spoken. I think that samp and beans is samp, right, the first word, and some beans. Right? So I go with like a 3-to-1 ratio. Yes? Okay, so let's just to make it completely official. Are you samp and beans 50-50? You can vote now. Very good. Oh. Can somebody show that gentleman out? And samp and beans 3-to-1 ratio. There you go. There you go. It's settled. It's settled. Family Feud over. Thank you, everybody, for helping. So you can put 1 part. So if that's 3 parts, you can put 1 part of beans in there. And then, so obviously soaking everything rehydrates everything and therefore makes the cooking time much, much shorter. There is a secret to great samp. And this is a secret. There are two secrets. Secrets that my grandmother definitely did tell me. You can pop the water in there. The first is time. So time to soak it and time to cook it. So it's not something that you can rush. And the second secret is love. She always said that whatever you cook, if you do it with the intention to pass on love, it will always taste great. If you cook because somebody forced you, because you didn't really want to, because, you were bored, I don't know. She says that that's when people get heartburn. So guys, if you're eating something that somebody made for you and you feel that, step away from that plate. Step away, because my gran said that wasn't made with love. So you have to put love and affection into everything that you cook. Okay, so this is basic samp. And also the other secret, the actual tangible secret, is that you never season samp until it's actually cooked. That's because the salt dries out the outside and means that the heat can't penetrate and it'll never cook. Have you ever cooked a pot of beans and you've seasoned it early on and the beans just never seem to go soft no matter how long you cook them for? That's because you've added salt too early. Okay, so because my grandmother's not here and I'm a chef now, I can sort of ad-lib stuff. I've added my own flavorings, because guys, I'm French trained, I've got to show people that I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I've just added some aromatic flavors to my samp. Yes, it's subtle in the way that you taste it, and you'll taste it when you eat the samp later, but it does add a little something. It's like when you eat a stew, and there's something in it that you're like, oh, there's this back note that's just really rounding it off. What is that? 9 times out of 10, it's a bay leaf. Don't laugh at my tips. Guys, these are real life tips you can use later on. Take them in. Okay, so a couple of bay leaves in there early on. And then I always try to sneak in my favorite herb, which is thyme. Oh, yes, you said it. Which is thyme. You could add rosemary here, but rosemary's got a really pronounced flavor, so you're going to alter the flavor of the samp slightly. But thyme is one of those earthy flavors that you can put into something, and it makes everything really subtle and delicious. And like I said, all that's left to do now is bring that to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer. You don't want to keep samp rapidly boiling. Otherwise, all the impurities that float to the top float back into the samp. So you want to keep it as pure as possible. And if ever a scum layer forms on the top, it's sort of like a foamy layer, just skim it off with a spoon. Okay? So that's the samp you're going to be eating later on. And the reason why I'm sharing something as simple as samp and just my grandmother's stories with you is just because she was the type of woman who always believed that cooking from the soil is the best kind of cooking you can do. Eating from home soil is the most nurturing way to show affection and to show love. And that's just something that I've always carried with me. You can stir if you like. Look like a chef, go. And that's just something that I've always carried with me. And it's something that I believe sharing these stories of our grandmothers and our grandparents and the people who gave us our food foundation is the basis of your love for food. And I always think back to this, why I make something so simple. And, there are some student chefs here, if I'm not mistaken. And they're probably looking at me like, oh, my gosh, Zola, you came here to show me how to make dried beans. Why? But the reason why is every time I have conversations with young chefs, I always, we have conversations about what's the trends, what ingredients. Thank you, you can sit for a while. I'll call you back. Don't rest, though. What's trendy, what ingredients are your favorites, what do you like to cook? And I always ask them something basic, like, what is, if you sit in front of a row of chef students, and you ask them, what is quinoa? 9 out of 10 of those students can jump up and tell you exactly what quinoa is. We all know what quinoa is. And they can tell me 100 ways of how they've prepared quinoa and how they're going to prepare quinoa and how they're going to use it in an amazing recipe. Ask that same group of 10 students what sorghum is. Blank face. Ask them what amadumbe are. Blank face. Ask them what izintanga are. Blank face. These are foods that are grown on our soil. How is it that we find foods from afar so trendy, so exciting? We're so ready to experiment with those foods. What about foods that our grandmothers taught us about? And that's what the stories about sharing, the stories that your grandmother taught you and the foods that your grandmother made for you. That's what it is. Because as soon as we start talking about those things, they disappear. And that's what the foundation of my love for food is to just tell these stories and share these stories so that now, if none of you have ever heard of izintanga, trust me, you're going to remember that word and you're probably going to go and look it up, right? And all of a sudden a new conversation, a new discovery of indigenous food has just happened. And it was all in conversation. So that's why these food conversations are so, so very important. And now that I've bored you with the samp, I am going to make you something else. And I'm a Durbanite. I told you that my maternal grandparents are from Emazimtoti. My paternal grandparents are from Mlazi. Whoop, whoop, no. And I wouldn't be a complete Durbanite if I didn't share a curry with you. Okay, for my Durban people, oh, excited, Durbanite. So I'm going to share mine and my mom, who is the curry queen, by the way. Yes, Mom, they may have proven you wrong about the samp, but you're still curry queen, wherever you are. And I've been to India. I went to India to actually eat there. Okay, I traveled just to eat. You can all tell. You all know. Cool. And I went to India and I ate curries across the southwest of India. And don't get me wrong, the curries in India are sublime. But no Indian mama can beat my mama's curry. So she's passed down this recipe to me. Her speciality is lamb curry, but today I'm making for you, well, I say I, but come back. Assistant, please, into the scene. I'm making for you potato curry for two reasons. One, I have this, I'm not going to say unhealthy, because it is healthy. No one's going to argue with me. I have this strange obsession with potatoes. First of all, if you don't like a potato, I cannot trust you. Fact. If you come to my house and you're like, but starch, get out. Because then you will get heartburn. Because you're doing it to yourself. So I love potatoes. I'm obsessed with potatoes. Potatoes of any kind, sweet potato, regular potatoes, but we're using just regular box standard potatoes for this. And the second reason is because whenever my grandfather would eat anything that my grandmother made or my mom made, he says he'd always know. He's now passed on, but he lived a very long life, so I got to sort of see him into his old age and my old age. And he always used to say, at family functions, family functions, they cook huge pots and there's 100 aunties who are cooking. And he'd always say, he'd taste something and he'd go, I know your mother or Ugoko made this. And I'm like, why? It's like a plate of food. There's been many hands on it. And he says, no. When your grandmother cooked and when your mom cooks, they make potatoes taste like meat. Drops mic, exits. So that's why I've decided to make you a potato version of this curry. Right. Once again, I said I, but by now I mean her. Okay, so first things first, for the perfect curry, turn on the heat. And every good curry starts, chef, you might have to finagle so that it works, starts with aromatics such as onions. In this case, we've sliced the onions. So you're not going to cook the whole lot. You're going to do the chefy thing and just cha-cha. That's a technical term. She understands. So we start by sauteing some onions. And I see the chefs here, without even me knowing, so my reputation, without me asking, precedes me. They've given me butter instead of oil. Because more butter, more better always. So we're going to saute in some butter. I recommend when you do it at home, use some butter for flavor and also use a bit of oil. You can pop them in. Also use, not all of them. Also use some oil as well. So the oil increases the temperature because the burning point of oil is a bit higher. And the butter is obviously for flavor, so you get the best of both worlds. So you want to saute the onions until they're translucent, and that's just a fancy way to say that until they're cooked, really. But, we've got to do the things. I'm also going to add a bit of salt to the onion, so this helps it sweat rather than color. So basically, salt draws the moisture out of things. So you're sort of drawing out the moisture, which lowers the temperature, which means that they're going to saute as opposed to fry vigorously. And then once those are softened, Chef, can you turn it up a little bit? Once those are softened, we're going to add more aromatics. And here we've got some ginger and garlic paste. You can make it yourself, or you can buy it already combined. But just as we're talking about, the source of where your food comes from, yes, we don't all have farms where we can go and pick stuff and where we can go and choose certain produce. So we do rely on supermarkets, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about your knowledge of what is in the ingredients or the packet that you're buying. So read the back of the label and make sure that what you are buying is, in fact, real garlic. If the first ingredient, in the list of ingredients is not garlic, then you're probably not buying garlic. So just beware. Sometimes, how sometimes you buy that ready prepared garlic, those chunks, and you cook it forever, and you're like, why does this garlic never actually disintegrate or cook away? That's because nine times out of 10, or maybe not that many, I'm just being dramatic now, sometimes it's actually turnip with garlic flavoring. So just make sure that you always know what you're putting into your pot. So yeah, knowledge about what the ingredient is important. Right, we're sauteing. Here's a spoon. You've got to look like you know what you're doing. Okay, so I'm just here, facilitating. You're the one. So yeah, stir it. Yes, chef. Call for garlic and chili. Call for. You may, chef. You may. Okay, so then you want to add the garlic and chili.
All of it?
Not all of it. No, not all of it. You can just eyeball. Some people add it with the onions, but garlic and ginger, will burn at a lower temperature than onions. So you want to make sure you cook the onions first. So my mom's, I've got the spices now. I'm going to go in next. We've got some cumin, some coriander, some ground cumin, some ground coriander, and some masala spice mix. My mom always goes to Durban and she makes her own. So she'll go to the spice shop that she's always been to and she'll make her own. So I just hijack that curry mix that she makes. But yeah, you can find an accessible curry powder or curry mix that is accessible to you and that you enjoy. Okay, so we're going to add some ground cumin, some ground coriander. You could actually add some garam masala, which is also a curry spice mix. It's also got cumin and coriander in it. You can add that to your curry. And then at this point, because this is an important part, I'm going to help you. Here we go. And you can choose at this stage how spicy you want to make it. This is my mom's secret to perfect meat-tasting potatoes curry. She says, at this stage, you have to burn the spices. Now, guys, I'm a chef. We don't use burn in our vocab, okay? So that's how my mom describes it. I'm going to describe it as toast the spices. So how do you know? Yes, chefy. So how do you know when you've toasted them enough? It's the level of toasting when, first of all, you can smell it. Can you smell the aroma? So that's when you know it's almost there. Go to the point where you're just a little bit uncomfortable about the stuff in the pot, and it's about to burn, and it's about to catch, then you know you've toasted them enough. So that's my mom burning the spices. Now, if you go home and you try this and you burn your spices, don't come back for me. Don't tweet me about it. You burnt the spices. I told you how to get there, right? Okay. So this is the secret to the best curry. And actually, all the ladies who made curry for me in India, they also say that the key to a perfect curry is to toast the spices to the peak of their toastedness. And yes, another technical expression there. Okay, so stir. And then at this point, I like to add the potatoes. So these are potatoes. I don't know what I was trying to say there. You could exchange these for sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes will take a little bit less time. You can pop them in there, not all of them. And also, we must use our hands because, you wash them. So chefs, we use our hands. Yeah. got you. So you could swap it for sweet potato. You could even swap it for butternut or pumpkin or whatever robust veg you want to use. You could actually use aubergines, brinjals, if you wanted. And at this point, once you've toasted the spices, obviously the potatoes are kept in water, so it's going to add a bit of moisture. So where you're uncomfortable and now it's about to burn, you're now going to toss the potatoes in there and add a bit of moisture, but also you're flavoring the outside of the potato. And we were having a discussion with Tatiana last night. What type of potatoes are these? Chef, what type of potatoes are these? Normal potatoes. That's not a varietal. It's not a varietal, but it's all good. It's okay, Chef Lucky, it's okay. So potatoes do come in varieties, and there are certain potatoes that you have to use for certain dishes. So there's a special potato, Tatiana, what is it again? The up-to-date that you use for bunny chow. So if you ever had a bunny chow, the up-to-date potatoes are what you'll get. They absorb a lot of flavor, but they stay intact after long time cooking. And what I wondered is, nowadays, the supermarkets have gotten really good about telling you what type of potato is actually in the pocket. So if you turn the pocket around, you can tell. But for years and years, what's happening? What's happening, Chef? Something's burning. You're burning it. Stop. Okay, so keep stirring. Okay, I'll add some more moisture. Some tomatoes going in there. And my mom always uses fresh chopped tomatoes. You could use tin tomatoes because, listen, we live very busy lives. We don't all have time to chop. We don't have a Chef Lucky in the back chopping tomatoes. So if you want to use a tin of chopped tomatoes, that's perfectly fine. Okay, just stir it, Chef, don't burn it. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure you balance it with just a little bit of sweetness. So you could use some honey, because the tin tomatoes are often very acidic. So you could use, yeah, she's really burning it, Chef. Turn that down. Thank you. So just balance it out because they are a little bit more acidic in the tin. So always taste as you go along. What was I saying before she started burning stuff? Anyone? Oh, potatoes, right. So supermarkets have gotten really good now about actually telling you the varietal. So for many, many years, the only way you would buy potatoes is if you'd go, oh, it's a chipping one. They'd put chipping, boiling, braising, frying, that's not a type, just like normal is not a type. So if you're interested to find out what type of potato you're using, turn the pack around or speak to your veg supplier and ask exactly what potato you are using so that if you like that potato, you can continue to use that potato. Right, Chef, you done burning stuff?
Yes.
Awesome. So at this stage, you want to make sure that you cook the tomatoes down and reduce them so they'll release a bit of moisture. It'll stop any burning that's potentially happening. And then at this stage, we're going to add some stock. Okay, so Chef Lucky and his team have wonderfully made, thank you, Chef, some homemade stock for us. Thank you. Give them a round of applause because that's a great thing to do because, making stock is a labor of love and it's something that takes a long time. If you don't have the time to make your own stock from scratch, I absolutely give you permission to use stock cubes, okay? Just watch the seasoning because obviously they're higher in salt. So just make sure that you taste it. There's also a really great product that's actually chefs are using in kitchens today because, like I said, making stock is a labor of love. It's called a stock pot. It's like a jellified little compartment of stock. And those are fantastic because when you make stock yourself, it jellifies because of all the cartilage and the yummy things in the bones that you use. So they use real bones, so you know that it's jellified. So it's up to you. They're both next to each other on the supermarket shelf, so you just make the choice. Make the choice. Okay. So at this stage, everything is simmered down. Have you turned it off completely? No. She has. She's now scared that she really is burning things. At this stage, all you want to do is make sure that you simmer it really, really gently. I advise having the lid on, just to sort of create a convection current inside the pot so that it's sort of cooking in its own moisture. And just cook it really, really slowly. If it looks like it's sort of burning and it needs a bit more more water, then you can add some stock. So there you go, Chef. It's all yours. Add some stock, great. Still my recipe, still got an iron. I'm kidding. You're doing a great job. And that's basically the fundamentals of a really great curry. It's at this stage where the potatoes are absorbing all the flavor, which is why you want to cook it really slowly. Also, if you boil it really vigorously, the potato is going to like dance around and then therefore break up, and then your meat-like potato is like mash. And then nobody wants mash in their curry because that's strange. Yeah. Thank you, chef.
Are we not going to add some more things?
Okay, cool. Whatever. It's your recipe. What would you like to add? Tell me.
I don't know. What is in here?
Oh, okay. Coriander. Great. That's for garnish, but cool. I'll just... Should I just leave now? You enjoy. No, so this is fresh coriander. Do you want to... You can chop some up. Here we go. This is fresh coriander. I like to add it at the end. So it's not a robust herb like thyme where you add at the beginning. It's a softer herb. So you want to chop it up and add it at the end because it's quite fragrant and you want the freshness. So ordinarily, I would wait until the curry is cooked and then I'd add the coriander. But it's okay. Oh, okay. So the boards are color-coded. So he's just telling her that she's in the wrong board. Wow. Lot of cooks on this stage. Lots of them. So I would usually add it at the end, but you can add the stalks, which are a little bit more hardy, in the beginning, and that's just added flavor. Yeah, and should I ask her what else she wants to do? Anything else? Okay, I'm kidding. She's going to add the coriander, and that's essentially, can you smell the curry? Can you smell the love? I know you can't taste it because obviously, I haven't given you any. But can you smell it? Can you smell the spices? I mean, just by smelling it, you already know that this is going to be a meat-like potato curry, right? Right, thank you. Can we have are you happy?
Yes, but I have a question.
Yes.
Do we add butter to the salmon?
Oh, yes. At the end, I add a bit of butter, and I also add a stock cube at the end, just to give it a little bit more flavor as well. But that's completely optional. And, samp is a bland-tasting dish. But like I said, the only reason why I made it for you and I want you to have it is because I want to pass on that love and that hug from within. So when you eat it, just think of me hugging you. Because that's what it's about. And yes, you can add butter at the end just to enrich it. Thank you, chef. Please give a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. And what I forgot to tell you at the beginning of this talk is we do encourage you to be interactive online and comment, and also here, speak to me now, because my 2 cookbooks are up for grabs. Ooh. I should have told you that before. Anywho, well, we've still got lots of the conference still to go, so you're all right. So please, ask questions, interact, and like they said, they're streaming this to a whole lot of other people who are not able to be here. So, interact with them on social media. This is pretty much the end of my talk and my cooking demonstration. Didn't I cook so well for you? Yes, I did. I just wanted to basically just wrap up by saying that the reason why I shared these recipes once again was to just share my grandmother's food story, which has now become part of my food story, which by hearing my story has now become part of your food story. And all I want to do is encourage you to cook from the soil, like my grandmother taught me. Eat from the earth, and you're doing the right thing, and you're doing a good thing for yourself. So nurture through food, through nature. Thank you so much. Thank you, chef. Thank you.
Wow, thanks so much, Zola. That was amazing. Please, once again, a round of applause.